everybody, and welcome to Dark Shed Live. What day is it? It's Thursday, April the 2nd today. Losing complete track of time. I'm sure everybody else is. Very difficult to know what the hell is going on. Welcome to Dark Shed Live tea break, morning tea break. What are we on? Episode 2 now. I hope you're all staying safe and doing okay. The big news, I guess, this week in the UK for film photography was that Ilford has stopped production in their factories. They apparently ramped up production of their most popular lines to stock their warehouses, which they're still distributing from, but it's just something to bear in mind as things escalate, as restrictions become tighter. I can totally see why Ilford have done it, because ultimately they've got to prioritise the health and safety of their staff, so fair play. Right then, last Thursday I did some photograms. You can check those out in the previous video on the channel. I've got those here. And did a contact print as well, so if you'd like to see how those were made, we've made a little Mario bookmark thing. I've done another one since as a little test with a pair of glasses, quite like. So check out the previous video, subscribe, add me on Twitter, all that sort of malarkey. So this week I have been developing some film that I shot just before the lockdown, and some in the local area that I've been doing, taking while on my exercise walks. Here they are. There were 3 rolls of 35mm and one 120. And while I had to mix up some new developer before developing them, and I thought I'd just take some photos of the process so you could see what I do. Film development is a massive subject. There are so many options out there, and it's all incredibly overwhelming, and it can be really confusing. All this was shot on HP5, very standard film. And I generally use a very standard developer as well, which is Ilford ID-11. Various reasons why, like, as with when it comes to the actual development, you're just balancing what you want to get out of it, whether that's time, the cost of it, and how much control you want, and like the final aesthetic of the result as well. For me, I tend to, like, the reason that I got into developing my own film is because I started developing a lot of film and the cost was just ramping up sending it off. So I wanted to reduce the cost, but that obviously increases the time because I have to spend time developing it myself. The other benefit was it then gave me control, so it gave me a chance to experiment a lot more with pushing and pulling and trying different developers out and trying different films and seeing how it all interacts together. And then when it comes to the actual developing, you're balancing things like the concentration of it, the temperature, the agitation, the duration of the development to get the final result that you're after. So let's just bring this up. I just took some photos while I was mixing the developer up. I use Ilford ID-11 in 5-litre packets because it costs, now how much does it cost? It's nothing. It's like £12 to make a 5-litre stock solution up. Okay, and it stalls pretty well. I've never had any problems. I tend to go through it fairly quickly, but I guess the longest I've had it kicking around is probably a few months, and never noticed any problems with it. That is obviously in an airtight container. So let's just run through this really quick. Inside the box there are 2 packets, the A and the B powders, and what you need is a jug for measuring your liquid, a thermometer, which also I use for stirring. A funnel is quite useful as well. I use a bucket. These are from B&Q. I don't think B&Q is open anymore. Hopefully you've got one kicking around. Just make sure it's nice and clean. The white container is a 5-litre jug because that's where I put all the concentrate after it's mixed. And the black one is my developing 1-litre working solution. Ducks are optional. They're not optional. Everyone needs a duck. I'm doing it in the bath as well because I don't have hot water here in the shed. And the first stage, as indicated on the instructions that are on the inside of the box, is you need to get your water up to 40 degrees C. I think this is just to help with the dissolving of the chemicals. Not entirely sure. So you run your water, stick your thermometer in, and then what I do is I turn the hot tap on to full, and then I just slowly add the cold tap until I get to 40 degrees, and then I just leave it running. And I measure out the first stage, I don't know if you can see that on the little diagram on the bottom right, it was 3.75 litres. So what I'm doing is I just pour that into the bucket, 3.75 litres, and you then add part A of the mix. Sometimes it gets a bit stuck in the packet, so I use a bit of the water just to wash that out, make sure I get all the part A in, and you thoroughly mix it until it's fully dissolved. Then you add part B. Stir it. Now part B doesn't dissolve as quickly, and ideally you want to be stirring it as you're pouring it in. Obviously it's very difficult taking photos and doing that at the same time. So you keep stirring, and it slowly dissolves until you've got perfectly clear solution, and there are no granules left in the bottom. Then you pour that into your stock solution container. So you have 5 litres at this point. I know you won't. After you've added the last one, you then add the rest of the water, which is 1.25 litres. So then that sits in your stock solution. And then I immediately made up a 1+1 mix ready for development, because that's the concentration that I use it at. So it's 500 ml of water, 500 ml of the stock solution, and voila! You've got your 1 litre working solution at 1+1. Amazing, eh? Then you thoroughly wash out everything that you've used, and in this case, wash out the bath as well. So quick cost calculation on that. It's £12 for 5 litres, so that's 5,000 ml. I generally use it at 1+1. This is like perfectly optimum conditions for development, to get the most out of it. If I'm using it at 1+1, that gives me 10,000 ml. Now I use a Jobo processor, which takes just under 300 ml, but I tend to use 300 ml per tank, right? So that gives me 33.33 tanks worth of development. And in one of those tanks, I can get 2 rolls of 35 ml film. So if I'm being super optimized with all this, I can get 60 rolls out of that solution. So at £12, 60 rolls, that's 20p a roll. Don't get it much cheaper than that. Obviously, the cost is my time. There we go. What else do you want to know? Check any questions in the comments afterwards, or on Twitter on Dark Shed Live. The other developer that I tend to use is Ilford microfilm for when I'm doing some mega pushing. This seems to give, right, this does give better results than doing big pushes. But HP5, FP4, I tend to use ID-11. I've used Perceptor a couple of times. I've never really kind of done side-by-side comparisons with developers, so I don't really know. If you don't have a Jobo processor, which I assume most people don't, it's the same sort of system as a Patterson one. It's just the agitation is automated. So you need one of these. There's loads of information about how to use these and load up the film and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, there we go. That's a nice, quick, brief one today on how to develop, or how to mix up your chemicals for development. Like I say, it's a huge subject, and there are so many different variables. When it actually comes to the development, you can change the concentration, the temperature, how much you agitate, the duration that you're developing for, to control the final aesthetic of the film, regards its contrast and its grain and its sharpness. Those sort of details are for another day. If you've got any questions, drop them over. And on that note, I need another cup of tea because I am cold as. Next broadcast is going to be Sunday this week I'm doing it at 2 p.m. in the afternoon GMT. So tune in then, and I'll spend a bit more time working on another process in the darkroom and show you that. Take care. Speak to you soon. Bye.